sipping, I'm sipping, I'm sipping, I'm sipping, I'm sipping, I'm sipping, I'm sipping.
Sipping, I'm 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 sipping.
This is Sippin' with Sammie. I am Sippin' with Sammie, Sam Malone, Barstool, Rug. If you ain't sipping with Sammie, you ain't sipping right. Please get your fucking life together. It'll be 2023 already. You wouldn't have had a shot yet. And today, man, is a special day. I have the pleasure of having the man after my own heart in the room with me. Introduce yourself to the people, please.
Hey, man, if you don't know me, I'm Mike Greenidge, news guy, photographer, executive producer, content creator, you know, a couple other hats I wear, but I'm out here, man. That's who I am. This is what I do, and this is who I am, man.
Be remiss if we didn't say Glockaware family.
Glockaware family, over a drink host.
Absolutely.
You know,
a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything, man.
If it has to do with entertainment, you know how to handle it.
This is what I've been doing since 90. Graduated college in 94. Been doing this ever since, man. And was, you know, doing music and shit like that since I was 16, man. So been around a long time in the entertainment game and trying to figure my way out and find my lane in it, man.
Well, it looks good on you. I don't know if this is where you land, but right now what you're doing is dope.
I appreciate that, man.
The energy that you bring to the city, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
You say straight out of college, you jump right in. Where did you start at? What capacity were you?
I came out of school. I was a videographer. I went to Kutztown University, kind of backward, stumbled my way into college, man, and got there. Well, went to community college first, and then kind of stumbled my way into college. I actually had no focus, no plan, man. It was kind of like I was doing electrical construction when I was in high school. Dude separated from his wife, sold a company, laid off everybody, and was like, "All right, dude, it's funny."
Why does
like,
that happen so
it was
often?
crazy, man. But you know, I moved up to the Lehigh Valley from New York, and you know, I was school wasn't important to me at the time. You know what I mean? And it's just like I was collecting an unemployment check in high school and shit. So you know what I mean? It was like
that's different.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean?
That might ruin you for life.
Yeah, right. I could have easily gone a different direction, right? You know what I mean? Get a little unemployment check and shit. You know what I mean? And you know, friggin' chick gave me a paper to fill out, man. Never looked at it. Handed it to my mom. She filled it out. I got a call a couple months later, like, yo, man, come to this banquet. It's like, for what? I ain't going to no banquet, man. My mom was like, go to the banquet, man. So I go to the banquet. I get there. Oh, you got a scholarship, the Martin Luther King scholarship for me? I'm like, yo, it's got to be another Mike Greenidge in this room. There's no way in hell I got a scholarship.
Like somebody that you was like Beanie Siegel, like I ain't even try to make it.
Nah. Like
somebody out here wants this dream more than me.
Way more than me. Somebody deserves this way more than me, man. But you know,
look at God.
It's right. And one of my homies. First of all, let's toast, man.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean?
You.
And one of my homies, I went to school in New York with Kwamé, and we had him on. You know, during COVID, when we was heavy in COVID, I worked with a crew, Tiny Room for Elephants, as well, and we were doing a happy hour, Zoom happy hour, and we had Kwamé on, and Kwamé said, "Yo, look, man, whatever space you in, you supposed to be in, right?" And then and that's hindsight for me now, right? It's like, yo, all these spaces I ended up in throughout life, those were spaces I was. Even if you're not comfortable. If you there, you're supposed to be there. Yeah. So figure out how to get comfortable and take advantage of it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so that's what it was.
A lot of sense of a lot of things that I've done or my parents forced me to do or places that I was in my past, and now it all starts to seem to be beneficial to what I'm trying to accomplish now and the things that I've done up to this point, which is crazy. And it's crazy you mentioned Kwamé, because I was a kid when Kwamé and them was out. And me and my sister used to sing the song in the back seat of the car together and all of that. You know what I'm saying? And we was in Adams Mark on Ceylon Ave, the hotel. And he was in the lobby. And I came down the elevator with my sister and she said, that's Kwamé. And I'm so young, I'm like, that's not him. He don't got no polka dots on. And she was like, look, you see the cars? Those are the polka dots. He had like cars all over.
Yeah.
I'm so dumb. I'm thinking polka dots had to be polka dots. Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm a baby. And she like, go speak to her. And I wouldn't speak, but I think we wound up, she took me over there and then he spoke to us, smiled, whatever, kept it moving. But then fast forward years later, I'm in Miami with my little cousins and we walking through the airport and I'm like, that's Freeway.
Look at that.
And they like, that's
that
not
ain't
Freeway. I'm like, how that's not Freeway? They said he's short and he's on a laptop.
Right.
I'm like,
he ain't rapping.
That man is not illiterate and rappers ain't that big. Y'all want me to take y'all over there? Like, and he had on basketball shorts.
Can't be Freeway.
Like, Couldn't travel comfortably and be on his laptop.
No way, no how.
Like,
no way, no how.
But you know, like Kwamé was that for me. You know what I'm saying? Everything come full circle, man.
Word.
Everything come full. So you started out as a videographer.
Yeah, so I started out as a videographer, man. I came out of college, man. I sent out like probably 50 resumes, B. And
what was the camera?
the camera back then, I was shooting on 3/4 inch, man. Like it was a Ikegami, you know what I'm saying? Probably or Panasonic or Ikegami. I had the camera, I had the cable joint with the deck that I had to carry around with me, man. And yeah, man, and that was my gear, man. And I was in these streets, man, and chasing everything that happened in the streets, man.
So
I did that up in Lehigh Valley. What was the question?
What company were you with?
Oh, I was with LVT up in Lehigh Valley. I was with I had did an internship at the PBS up there. And so I started. That's where they gave me my first gig when I was in college, and then and I didn't really have an understanding of the business at that time, right? Because I was still that kid who didn't have no business in college. I just happened to make it through.
And now you got a job.
Right. And
so now I'm gonna do exactly what I need to do to get a check.
Right, like
no left, right, no up.
Nah, I kind of didn't understand the industry, so there was a lot of opportunity that I didn't take advantage of because I didn't understand it. Like coming out, I got an offer up in New York at a Hard Copy at the time. You know, the main magazine show. Yep. I was gonna be a runner, right? They offered me $5.50 an hour. I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm coming to New York for $5.50 an hour, right? But what I didn't understand is, like, dude, this is the mecca of entertainment.
You in the building.
Right. Like, so you in it. Like, it's not about the money. It's about the people you meet. Yeah. But I didn't understand that at the time.
You an intern, but you getting a check.
Right.
But you there.
Right? And she's like, oh, you're going to work 60 hours a week, no overtime. I'm like, yo, man, y'all ain't running me to death, man. Yeah. Not understanding.
That don't sound like life if you don't got no goal.
And if you don't understand, because for me, it was just a job at that time. You know what I mean? And quite honestly, it was probably in my head, I still viewed it as a job up until about 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
I should have got my CDL when they was giving out free training when I was working at Home Depot. But I didn't want them calling me over the loudspeaker all day to do shit.
Right.
Now I'm like, damn,
I should have got
a free CDL.
Right. And that's really what it was, man. A lot of times, man, we not taught to, to see past right this moment. You know what I'm saying? And it was that was really it.
And I
man.
was around the same. Well, I was in college at that time, so I was still young and on my. A job is a job. Everything temporary.
Right. I'm gonna just keep moving.
Not realizing that there's other ways.
And so that's what it was, man. And so then I worked with them for about a year and a half. Then I left there, went out to Harrisburg, and I almost left the industry until a friend of mine who was in the industry was like, "Yo, Mike, man," because even there I wasn't making no real money. And they was like, yo, Mike, man, but this is one of the only industries where you can make one move and double your salary.
Absolutely.
And I was like, I never even thought about that, right? Because I didn't understand the industry. Yeah. It was still a job.
And you didn't have anybody to relate it to.
No, I had nobody.
See progression through.
Right. I had nobody to talk to about it. I had nobody to give me guidance on it. You know what I mean? No mentor who was in the industry. Nobody, it was just like, I was literally a computer science major in college. I had a lame advisor who told me there was no jobs in computers. This is 1990, 1989. He's like, there ain't no jobs in computers.
Not this year, but shit, by the time I'm out of here.
Man, it was jobs in computers then. Right.
But you don't want to learn the computer.
But I didn't know, right? And I'm like,
want to learn the computer.
I'm using my guidance counselor's advice. So I'm like, all right, well, man, I might as well go do something I enjoy. So I switched to radio, television production. But it's still, for me, it wasn't, I thought I'd shoot music videos. I thought I'd shoot, you know what I mean? Some homies I ran with had a rap group. I'm like, that's who I'm going to be, right? I'll be the next Spike Lee or the next, who was the cat that was shooting a ton of music videos back then? I can't think of his name, but whatever the case. You know what I mean? That's what I thought was going to be me, man. And then, so I'd had no focus.
Ralph McDaniels.
Ralph McDaniels was another one. But, you know what I mean? Grew up on Ralph, you know what I mean? So, but it was like, even still looking at somebody like Ralph McDaniels, I didn't understand what he was doing, right? To me, he had a job. It wasn't like
nobody understood what he was doing.
Right. He was way ahead of his time.
So early, bro.
Right. He was way ahead of his time,
Salute
right?
Uncle Ralph, man.
Word up on that, man. But it was just like, I had no focus. I had no reference point. So everything I did, it was like, yo, I just got a job. You know what I mean? Doing this at a television station was no different than bagging groceries at a grocery store for me.
It's a check.
Right. It was just next week if something else come along, I'll get a different job.
It's like my theory when I take jobs, because I don't mind working at all. I'll work as much overtime as you let me once you give me the job, because the job is somewhere that they tell me how much I'm going to get paid to be there for a allotted amount of time. And once I agree to that, I'm willing to be there for that bread.
Right. And that's what it was.
It ain't the end all be all to my life.
Correct.
And y'all not going to drive me crazy. You know what I mean? And if the ceiling looks like it's not too far I can go with it, then I'm not going to do it.
That's it. You know what I mean? And so I left there, went out to Allentown, worked there, you know what I mean? And left there, went to Harrisburg, worked out in Harrisburg for about a year and a half. And then I came to Philly, man. Came to Philly in 98, and I've been here ever since.
But see, it's crazy because I have a cousin, an older cousin, worked for NBC till he retired. Olympics, Super Bowls, you know, with the camera in his hand.
Yeah.
Didn't finish, I don't think he finished middle school.
But he came in at a different time.
Way different time.
Yeah, he came in at a different time.
You know times we talking about.
Yeah, he came in at a different time.
He touching probably 90 now.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You didn't need a college education. You didn't need all of that.
Very dark.
Yep.
Dark black man in that field at that time.
Yeah.
And he wasn't formally educated, but he knew what he was doing with that camera. And it got him places, traveled the world. You know what I mean?
Oh, all the time.
Respect, prestige after a certain amount of time because he's the one that
right.
was, yeah. And it's like if he'd have talked to you around that time, he'd have had you on some shit.
Oh, for sure.
But at the same time, you are exactly where you're supposed to be now.
And I just walked my path, man.
Because they'd have took you from us. We wouldn't have had a 215.
Nah.
You know what I'm saying?
Nah.
Like 215 Tuesdays wouldn't be here.
Nah.
I know that was you.
That was me.
You fought for that, right?
I fought for it in the sense that
because they needed something.
But
they wouldn't have did it your way.
But yeah, so what it was, the way the 215 came into fruition was I was doing stuff outside of TV.
Yep.
Right? I was doing my interview series. I was producing content and all this stuff because in my mind I was like, okay, I hit the ceiling here. I had been here at the time, 15 years.
And they got wind of what you was doing outside.
Right.
It's like when you hooping. All right, I got you.
That's what it was, right? Yeah. So it wasn't. I had acts. I went in looking for promotions, throwing my name in a hat.
But now you showing them what you're
over time for years.
Look,
right?
I have relationships. Look, I know how to run an interview. Look, I don't need your equipment.
Right. And so then it was kind of like, I tried to advance within the building, and opportunities wasn't happening. Mm-hmm. Right. So I'm like, well, look, man, ain't no future in here for me except for what I'm doing. And I could do this for the rest of my life. The pay is good, benefits, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like I got so much more to contribute to the game than what they're giving me the opportunity to contribute. So I'm just going to start creating my own lanes outside of the building and start doing my own thing.
Sounds very similar to Quincy.
Right. And so they all of a sudden start to see what I'm doing outside the building. And I was like, well, hold on a second. Like, this dude is creating all this content. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, look, I've been telling y'all about this. Y'all didn't have any desire for it.
Y'all could have had part of this
a long time ago.
And we could have been elevated by now.
But then one day, I guess after seeing the work and they woke up and was like, opportunity came, somebody left and was like, yo, we're going to create this new position, strategic content manager, and we're going to have, if you're interested, we'd like for you to have the job and come in and create content for our...
they made you a position.
Right. You know what I mean? And so that's what ended up happening, man. And then, even then, I don't think they really understood how I visualized it, right? Because it was really, I came in and I'm working, I'm doing a couple things here and there, but I'm like, look, man, like I gotta really exploit this opportunity just in case it goes away. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so then that was what it was. I just started same kind of things that I was doing for myself. I just looked at it as another platform, right? As opposed to a job in the sense of I'm creating this content and putting it up on YouTube and putting it up on Instagram and all these other different social medias, right? Well, Fox is just another social media for me. I'm going to keep creating the same content that I was doing and use their platform the same way I use.
It's crazy to say Fox is another social media for me. God damn.
You know what I'm saying? But that's how I had to visualize it, right?
It is for you.
Right. So that's what I'm doing. And so I'm putting up my content on their platform, just like I would have done on YouTube. Like, I'm not going to change what I'm creating. You know what I'm saying? Either you take what I'm creating and we rock out, or you say, hey, Mike, man, this is not what we're looking for. And we pivot, or I pivot, or you pivot, right? But I got this position because y'all seen what I was doing outside of the building. So you obviously want me to bring that same energy and that same vibe into this show.
And if you're not going to add on, don't take away.
Right. And so that's what it was, man. And so the 215 kind of grew out of that. Now, I won't take credit for the name because somebody else came in. Mm-hmm. So how it started was I was doing this content. It was just, and then I was like, well, listen, how we want to release this? Like, y'all just want to throw this up like YouTube, or y'all want to,
right.
And my advice would be package it and create, a show around it. So that gave birth to what was called the Jarek Report.
Right.
Jarek Report used to come on either Saturday or Sunday morning at 7:30 in the morning, right? It started off once, it was just online.
Right.
And then they was like, oh, wow, you creating some really good content. Can we get this on TV? It's like, sure. You know what I mean? I got enough pieces I could throw together a half-hour show. So then it was like once a month. They first started off as one special. Can you do a Jarek Report special? Then it turned into, well, can you do this once a month? Then it was like, well, can you do this once a week? Then, they seen I was able to keep churning this content, and it became like, all right, well, we thinking about rebranding it as a 215. And so that was where it was born. The 215 came out of that.
But that's the natural progression of things that get added on to things that are that major and that long standing. It has to go through that process,
right,
to a certain extent anyway. It's like a smaller magazine being an insert inside of a larger
right.
magazine. It happens that way.
Right.
But each time you prove that it was worth paying more attention to, and bringing more light to. And I remember that process. I remember it going from one segment to seeing it more reoccurring to seeing it at Glockaware. Right. But
but even Glockaware, when I did the Glockaware joint, it was still a Jarek Report.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then so that was part of the growth of but I was saying that was part of the growth of the whole show that brought us to the 215 today.
So what did they make any changes
to
how you were originally doing it?
No, man, and it's crazy, right? Because in TV world, like in corporate television, in corporate media, this don't happen, man.
They change it just so that they can say that they did something.
Or everybody has their own vision of what they think a product should be, right? And I've seen so many people come in with their ideas and their vision, and then the managers and the corporation decides, well, nah, we want it to look like this, or we think it should have more of this, or we should. Then it fails.
We talk about it in everything from fashion to music all the time, that if they had certain people and they listened to these certain people in these buildings, then they would be better, because you're trying to adapt someone else's thing.
Correct.
Someone else's culture.
Correct.
And you're trying to make it look a way that's palatable, but it's not palatable to the culture that you're reaching out to.
Right.
You're blowing away the same people that you're trying to attract because you're making it corny.
Yes. And
made it weak.
And I've seen that happen so many times, man. And it was kind of like, once they, and honestly, when I first got this slot and we started talking about doing the 215, I was kind of wishy-washy, right? Because I've been in this television culture for so long and seen how they always wanted to put their stamp on something. So I'm like, what exactly do you guys want from this thing?
I would think you would be more worried about, if this doesn't work, this is an excuse to get me out the door.
Well, there's that too, right? There's that too, right? But at the same time, that's what causes the concern.
Because you don't have no control over that part.
Right, got no control over that part.
And you're a great person to do the show you're doing, but who knows what the people...
Who knows how the people are going to receive it? Who knows how corporate is going to receive it? You know what I mean? Because I still got to answer to these cats.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And you got to... Right, and you got to walk a line that I want to keep it authentic and keep it, you know what I mean, representing the people, but at the same time,
I need y'all to be able to put it out.
Right.
And want to put it out.
And I need the people to understand, like, this is some things I can't put on here.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
There's
like
some things I can't put on here.
Right. Like, this is some things like that I'm into it, yes.
Yeah.
But it can't be on this platform.
No, it don't work that way.
Right. So that's really, so it was kind of figure out, like, where do y'all want me to go with this, man? Because I know where I would go with it, but that may not be what y'all are looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And I need this thing to work for you as much as I need it to work for me. You know, and I was rapping with, and I was, you know, I had a break from the Jarek Report to the 215 from like about this time, so like early December to the end of February.
Okay.
To start building content and getting stuff ready for when it went live, and for probably the month of December and half of the month of January, I was like, yo, I'm not sure what these people want. Like, you want a magazine show, you want this, you want that, and we had a meeting.
I can understand the sentiment though.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because I can
because
understand
it's like this don't happen.
Yeah.
This is a position,
and you can't even compare it to if they tried it in another city.
No, because it's all brand new.
This ain't.
I have
and we ain't them.
Right,
Philly different.
Right, Philly different. And I have no. Again, I'm in a position in my life where I have nobody to look at to figure out how to make this thing work. Right,
this is true.
So
this is true.
What am I supposed to do? And now I'm hearing voices like, yo, you should do this or you should do that. Like from my wife, from people at the job, from you know, just everybody has an opinion, right? And we had a meeting with this guy who's like a corporate level dude, who creates content. Like he created the Dish Nation and a couple of the 25 words or less. You know what I mean? Like he's got national shows, right?
Yeah, huge.
And we're sitting in the meeting and he says, we showed him the open. And he was kind of like, that's all right. I was like, damn, everybody in the room. Like, I didn't care for it, but when they presented it, everybody in the room liked it.
It's one of them.
So I was like, all right, if everybody else likes it, then maybe I'm the one seeing it wrong, right? So I'm like, all right, you know, we'll let it rock.
We all make that mistake till we stop.
But then when homie, who is the dude who is creating all these shows, kind of...
He ho-hummed it.
Yeah, ho-hummed it.
That shit is average.
You know, and nobody at the table...
light.
Right, and nobody at the table said anything. So I'm like, but I'm the one on the line here.
So none of y'all fought for y'all vision.
So I said, so I throw the question out. I'm like, yo, man, what don't you like about it?
Absolutely.
And he started breaking it down. He's like, you know, it's a little this, whatever he could said about it, right? Then he says, well, who's your target audience? And I was like, that's a good question. Who is my target audience? And he says, well, you're going to be replacing, at the time slot, Dish Nation was running. He said that audience is something like, you know, 27 to 45-year-old women.
That helps a lot just to know that.
Just to know that, right? But this is stuff, these were questions that I didn't even know to ask, right? And so when he said that, I'm like, oh, okay. Okay, so now that gives me a little direction.
Absolutely.
Right? And then I says to another person I says to my GM after the meeting is over, I pulled him aside. I'm like, look, man, like, I'm just I got to get a feel for what y'all looking for with this thing, man. And he says, yo, Mike, man, we didn't give it a description because
you was doing you.
We want you to do what you think, what you want to do. And that's all I needed to hear.
Right. So
that's
now, F it.
Now, let's go.
Right.
Now, this is going to be a walk in the park, right? Because now I know all these other voices I'm hearing all here and there. I don't got to listen to none of them.
Right.
All I got to do is focus on what I think is the best content. What would you produce for your own platform if you were going to throw it up on your YouTube page, or if you was going to throw it up on your IG page, or if you was going to throw it, what would that be?
But even with that, knowing my demographic for that time slot helps tremendously.
Right?
Like that might have been that'd have saved you 6 weeks worth of work.
Dude, but again,
you'd have had a couple things done already to throw at them.
And again, I'm like, yo, like it really kind of opened my eyes to like, okay, Mike, you gotta be on your game. You gotta know what questions to ask. You gotta be more aware, right? You gotta stop looking. I mean, guidance is great, right? Everybody needs guidance, and everybody needs someone to help them maneuver, right?
But you in uncharted territory.
You in uncharted territory. So, and they didn't give you this position or create this position for somebody else to tell you what to do. They created this position because they want you to do what you do.
But let me shoot you some bail. They usually create them positions for somebody to tell you what to do. Or at least
Right.
they nudge you.
Right.
So that's not your fault.
So that's the lane. And after being in this building and watching
how this usually
things
goes,
work,
right?
I'm playing in the way things have been played for years. So to have somebody, but now that being said, right, for him to say to me like, "Yo, man, just do what you do, man. We didn't give it a descriptor because we want you to create it and do what you do." So I'm like, okay, bet. That made it a lot easier, but it also relieves everybody else of the pressure of making this work.
Having to help.
Right. So now it's all on you, B. Like,
I knew that. I was waiting to get to that part.
Right.
Too. Like, so once y'all tell me it's on me, is it just on me?
Yeah, it's just on you. It's just on you. We all might like what you doing, but as soon as somebody else say they don't like it, all of us is like, well, that was Mike. You know?
And in corporate, they take the whole conversation about direction. It's like, well, you just proved we don't know how to do what you trying to do.
Right.
Like they can't learn.
Right.
Like you could help me still. You still have a skill set that pertains to what I'm doing. We're just going to do things a little differently.
Correct.
This will be filtered differently, so to speak.
Correct. And we trying to reach it, and I think for a long time, right? And it's not just at my station. I think a lot of stations, right? The way TV, especially local TV, tended to work was they bring a news director in, or they bring in, some kind of management team that wasn't from the market. And they would come in with their ideas of what they thought the market should have.
Because they killed in their market.
Right. They was in Boston, they had a great run. They was in Orlando, they had a great run.
Portland.
They was in Portland, they had a great run. Wherever they came from, they had Ohio, they had a great run. Whatever it was, they came. Right. And I'm like, yo, it ain't Philly, B. Philly's a different beast, man.
And you know what my example is? And I had a guest on here one time, and she used to be a weather girl, and she's tall, voluptuous, like thick. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I know you was down south somewhere, because only when you go to Atlanta is the weather girl and the women on the news, because they're worried about housewives being intimidated.
Right.
And when you're in a region that's not familiar with that's not a common thing,
right? Or
that's what they hate. You can't put that on the news every morning.
No
matter how good she is at her job, she becomes the teacher that wore the wrong shit.
Right.
Because of her body type.
And that's the thing, right, that they have to be concerned with as a company, right? Because I don't want to put
ratings, marketing dollars and marketing dollars.
I don't want to put somebody on TV that people don't want to see.
That turns off the majority of my viewers.
Exactly, right? And so that's a whole nother, deal and situation.
That would be the anxiety for me, because I would always compare myself on some levels to that.
Right.
To something they're just not used to seeing at this time of day or whatever have you. And I'm giving my thing, and I'm going to give it how I give it. That would be the
fingers crossed. That was a fingers crossed, right? I mean, and it's a piece that's running tonight. Tonight we got a rerun on, right? And the rapper KP. You know what I mean?
My guy.
You did a piece on him, right? I was like this. I don't know how I'm gonna get this passed, because I used some of his.
Thought he deserved it,
but I knew he deserved it. Like, I'm like, the work that this dude is putting in,
out here,
right?
And jump on everything and kill it.
But not just that. The content that he's producing and the way that he's approaching it. You know what I mean? That
and
series
the way he's
that
handling
he had,
his business too, which is very important.
Right. Right. So, but even like, so the little short, the Instagram series he did on domestic violence.
Right.
The Instagram series he did on there was several of them that I had included in this piece. Right. I can't think of them all right now. But I'm like, I don't know. On young people, and you know what I mean, social media, and how social media affects these young cats out here acting a fool in the street, right? And he's at Martin Luther King High School, at King High, right, and so I'm like, this needs to be seen.
It's important,
and it's important that we get this on. But
do they care?
This not only do they care, because I think they do care, but will they be too afraid to put this on their air because of how it may be received, right? That domestic violence piece, if you don't have all the conversation around it, it does come across as violence against women. It could easily be perceived that way, right?
If you don't understand.
If you don't understand where it's coming from.
Absolutely.
And so,
damn it, art.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Like we're held accountable for being artists.
Right. Yeah. But so my concern is like,
you didn't want.
I did an interview with him a year ago. Mm-hmm. And something happened that we didn't get the piece complete. We couldn't get it on. And then his manager, Status, reached out to me and was like, yo, Mike, man.
Stat was here a couple weeks ago.
Okay, so he reached out. He said, yo, Mike, man, we got all this other stuff. He just did this domestic violence joint. We did this. Can you use that stuff? Mm-hmm. And I was like, we can't use this without explanation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Context.
I have to interview him and talk about this so people understand
and
this.
It has to be wrapped up.
Right. And so that was my concern, is like when I presented it to him, and that was probably one of the only pieces that I've put on the air so far that I shot it to them before it went to air. Mm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because I was like, you got gunplay in the video, you got, you know what I mean? If you don't understand where it's coming from, violence against women, young people committing violence, and so if you just sitting there with your TV turned down, or you just, know what I mean? Which a lot of people do, mm-hmm. or you just click in and click out, mm-hmm. and you happen to come in.
And all you see is that logo, now you're confused.
Right, and you see this dude riding down the street on a bike, shooting at people. You're like, what the hell is Fox putting on their air? Mm-hmm. Now the phone is ringing, and now I'm like, now I'm getting called into an office.
Yeah.
So that was one of the few pieces that I sent to him, and I'm like, yo, is this good to go? Like, watch this piece and let me know if y'all comfortable with this.
Would they, and this is just me being curious, because I know there's a lot of people that's on the news that have passed. And even, I mean, when I say past, I mean they had things that they've done in their past. Mm-hmm. And they might be doing something different now. Do they like background check? Like, would they look at like a KP piece and be like, let me check his background? Per se?
It
like,
depends.
Would that be a deciding factor?
It depends.
I don't want it to sound like a crazy question.
No, I hear what you're saying. It depends, right? Well, technically,
because it's still a rapper. Like, if he was a priest, it'd be different.
Right, but even with priests, like, we don't do. It depends on what the story is, right? Mm-hmm. So, if you are, I'm trying to think of an example, right? If I come to interview you, mm-hmm. and we're talking about your Sippin' with Sammie podcast,
absolutely.
What you did before this doesn't really matter.
I would hope not, but I just don't know how these networks.
No, but that's what I'm saying, because mm-hmm. this is what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. Now, if 2 days ago you just stuck somebody up,
that's different.
You know what I mean? And I don't know that, and I'll put you on TV, and then somebody's like, "Yo, man,
that's the guy that
this
just
dude,
ran down.
Yeah, we got this dude on surveillance out here." You know what I mean? Then it's shame on me for not catching that. But at the end of the day, man, people got to understand, like, we're even though it looks like it's a huge corporate machine mm-hmm. that's out here creating this content and delivering you local news and mm-hmm. all of that, dude, it's like 8 people. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's a newsroom full of people.
Only has to go but so far.
Right. Not only that, it only has to go but so far. They can only do but so much.
Right.
In research wise. Right.
Because it's a constant thing. Right.
We got to deliver every night. You know what I mean? A 5 o'clock, a 10 o'clock, an 11 o'clock, from 4 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? From 5 o'clock in the afternoon to 6:30 in the evening, 10 o'clock at night to 11:30 at night. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it ain't that much.
We can't check everything.
I'm just curious.
We do our damnedest to try to make sure that everything we give you is 100%.
Right.
But there's gonna be stuff that gets by, man. It's just inevitable.
I was just, because when you said like running the KP thing to them first, you know what I mean? And mind you, you said based on the content, which is understandable. I was just wondering how far that thought would go for them.
Now, it may have been. Now, they may have Googled them. You know what I mean? And they may have went back and looked at, but I had already known.
But I think if you Google KP, a lot of good work comes.
That's what I'm saying. I knew because I Googled them.
Yeah.
And I looked back at them, so I knew what they would find if they went and did it.
Yeah.
Right? And I think in a lot of cases, especially now, because of of the internet, it makes it that much easier for us to do that kind of research. You know what I'm saying? To see what kind of history people have before you go out and interview them, and before you, because you get people who pitch you on stuff, you know what I'm saying, and they talking about how great work they doing, this, that, and the third. You Google their name or you look at their social media and you're like, yo, this cat is fronting.
Yep.
He ain't doing nothing of value
At all.
You know what I'm saying? Or she ain't doing nothing of value,
or
and they
the
think
business
that
is a front.
Right, and they think that they forget how easy it is now. You know, 15, 20 years ago,
you could have pulled the
you could pull it right.
It's a good front. It looks good.
It's hard now, man. It's hard because, and then if you have no presence on social media, then it's like, what you hiding?
Then that's crazy. Yep.
Right. It's like, so you between
that's
the rock and a hard
me
place.
On social media years ago. You know, in the beginning, everybody, I ain't messing with that. That's dumb.
Yeah,
I had
same.
that mentality, and I was running around doing stuff I ain't want to post. And then at some point, I started dabbling in entertainment, managing, and doing music stuff. And somebody was like, well, if you are presenting something and you're not on social media, are you alive? Right. They literally asked me, was I alive? Right. And that was an extreme for me. But they were right.
But they were right.
You know what I'm saying? Because in my head, I'm like, that's not living. But I understood.
But in today's world,
that they wasn't wrong.
Nope.
And I shortly wrapped my head around and I eased on. You know what I mean?
Same thing.
One platform at a time.
Same thing.
Just jokes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Same thing.
Stuff like that.
I mean, when I came in, you know, when YouTube came around, we was like, man, YouTube ain't gonna last. Ain't nobody gonna watch it. You know what I'm saying? Garbage video. It's all grainy. It's just, and even before that, tapes. Before that, it was just grainy video of nonsense.
Yes.
It was like, so TV people.
Too raw for TV. Them type of joints.
Right.
And they was fuzzy too.
Right. Yep. So for TV people, like, man, ain't nobody gonna watch that. Ain't that, you know what I mean? Shit. 10 years later, technology advanced. YouTube look better than TV now, and you like
should have learned from Blockbuster.
Should have learned from Blockbuster.
Blockbuster turned to the Red Box, turned to the Netflix, and niggas still trying to buy fucking video rental stores.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying, right? And so, and I mean, it had happened in the television industry. I mean, in the media industry in general, right? Newspapers got hit with it
hard.
You know what I'm saying? TV got hit with it, not as hard as the newspapers, because the newspapers, so early in the game, they started giving away content for free on the web. You know what I mean? Posting their stories on the web, putting their whole newspaper on the web. Well, if I could watch it and read it for free, why the hell am I going to go buy a newspaper?
And a newspaper is based on reading,
right?
And it's written on a third grade reading level because the average motherfucker don't read above that, which means most people are not going to fight to read anything,
right? And if you give it to me for free, I'm damn sure
not paying for it.
Like, I remember, I think it was while I was here in Philly, early when I got here in Philly, the Inquirer or the Daily News. Like, if you bought a subscription, they gave you some kind of, that wasn't an iPad back then, but it was some kind of reading device, electronic device where you can read, you can get the newspaper electronically, right?
Was it a disc?
No, it was an actual, like, a pad that you could carry around with you. But it was like, yo, but
why would I get a delivery?
At some point,
you just gave me the device to get it.
This is what I'm saying. So I'll pay for the
so they
subscription.
did a bad job of transitioning. They was trying to be early on something and did a horrible job in the middle.
Right, and so and now when you look at it, crazy. So many newspapers are gone. So many newspapers have to downsize. So many periodicals just got shut down because firewalls didn't exist yet.
Especially local news, because you had local, then you had super local. You had like Chestnut Hill paper,
and it hurts.
Paper,
and it hurts the people, right? Because you don't have local reporters reporting on what's going on in your community right now. You know what I'm saying? When I came in this industry, I used to cover school board meetings. I used to cover city council meetings. I used to, and I mean, in small communities.
So you know what I know about stuff, politics in the city?
I don't know, a little bit, not recently, but you know, I covered it for a long time.
You've been to these meetings and you see when they say, hold all your questions to the end and we're going to have time, and then at the end there's only 2 of them left. Right. You've been there.
Yeah, I've seen that go down. But
like, don't do that to my grandma, bro.
But here's the problem, right? There used to be a reporter in that room that would come out. Not only would hold them accountable, but would come out and go on television and be like, yo, they told everybody in the room to hold their questions to the end. And then at the end of the room, at the end of the meeting, there was only it was city council president and one other person still sitting in the room. All the other council people had left.
And Joe from the rec center.
Right. Waiting to get his question out. Right. But now they don't have, because of the downsizing and the crushing of
you don't have it, right?
You don't have those.
Yeah.
These outlets have either gone or they just don't have the resources to pay the people to go out and do that no more.
Is the answer to outsource to people like us?
Well,
I come with my own production company.
Here's the thing though, right? Here's the problem with that, right? To outsource to people, you still have to vet the people you outsource to, right? And make sure they don't have an agenda. And so now you still have to hire people. Well, if you're going to do that, you might as well hire a reporter.
You're still talking about more work.
Right. You might as well hire a reporter.
Because it's like, it's so many people. I mean, there's children out here doing great reporting and interviews, bro.
Right.
And it's like, we never seen that before.
No. Well, that's the beauty of all this technology becoming social media, and it's becoming so much affordable. I mean, look at your setup. When I started doing TV, you couldn't have no setup like this. This setup will cost you $500,000.
Yeah.
3 cameras, switcher, all that stuff.
Yeah.
You couldn't afford. The people couldn't afford to buy this.
Is people like our setup, but you know exactly what all this shit is. So yeah.
Right. This is what I'm saying. When I started doing TV, dude, you couldn't there was very few freelancers because the cost to get into the game was so high.
But that's why your only vision was shooting music videos, because everybody in the camera in the hood shot rappers.
Right. Or you could buy like a camcorder. Right.
My grandfather always had the big video cameras and all of that, and he used to make me shoot the whole wedding or the whole reception, or like I was the camera boy. But one day, I shot my cousin wedding, right? And she was young, beautiful girl, squad full of beautiful homegirls, and she was marrying this guy that I kind of seen as a square, and his whole squad was squares. So you know how they come down for the side and then they turn to go up. I'm right here in the L shape.
Yeah.
Like I'm behind them while they walking up to the altar. And we had a mansion.
Okay.
Big mansion and all that. And all you hear me saying is dweeb.
Yeah.
Then I realized the mic picked me up.
Yeah, you can't do this job no more. Yeah, you gotta have some self-control out here when you're doing this job.
And I'm young, so my family like, you did a great job shooting the wedding. Let's watch the footage. So we at my grandma's house. They put the footage on. It's a room full of family, and it's on, but it's no value.
Right.
So they like, let's turn it up. Dweeb. Like, I don't even say dweeb. I called him a dweeb. Like, I really felt that.
Hey man, sometimes you can't hold it, man.
Oh,
sometimes it just comes from the soul. And the reason that
I can say I can describe the situation a little more now is because she's divorced him and remarried since, so now she can know that I always thought he was a nut in the first place.
But that's what it was, man. This gear was so, like, I give you an example, right? When not too long after I got here, I was covering a scepter strike.
I knew it was a strike because it's always a scepter strike.
Right, it was a scepter strike, and we were at the Sheraton on, what is that, 18th, 16th in the Parkway, right? And we sit in the lobby and we waiting for them to come out and talk to us. Somehow, some way, somebody got me for my camera. I don't know how it happened. I'm sitting there, my camera's right here. One of the dude who's work with me is sitting right here. So the camera's in between us. Somebody comes downstairs, everybody grabs the camera, goes running to chase after him. Go to grab my camera. Yo, where my camera at, man? I'm talking to my man. I said, yo, man, you got my camera? Nah, Mike. So I'm talking to the other camera guys thinking somebody's messing with me. Like, yo, man, where y'all put my camera at, man?
Wow.
It's like, yo, we ain't got your camera, Mike. It's like, yo, there's no way somebody stole this camera, man.
Yeah, because that's bold as hell.
Right.
It's sitting right between
and
us.
It's a room full of media. The whole
everybody y'all came with your own cameras or y'all wouldn't be here.
Everybody, I mean, every
Was it a
station
mistake?
is there. No.
You got Jack.
I got Jack. Every station is there.
Slipping.
Every station is there. People moving around the lobby, cameras in the lobby, everything. Somebody got me. So
and
I go
a company camera?
Yeah, company camera. So I go down to the police department and file a police report and all of that.
As you have to.
And the cop says, well, what do you think the value of the camera was? I'm like, $80,000. He said, what?
Mm-hmm.
I said, yeah, dude. But this is what I'm saying. Like, you couldn't do this back then.
No. Because that was $80,000.
Because the dude was like, the cop
camera
was like,
$80,000.
the cop was like, what? He said, hold on, we got to get somebody else to take this report.
Yeah,
that's
because
grand
that's a
larceny.
different level.
Like, this is not, you know what I mean? I can't take this report.
Exactly.
But that's how expensive
Over
this gear
$10,000.
was back then, right? Now the prices come down so much and it's so readily available that you can have great people in the community doing great stories and great reporting,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I tell people all the time, man, like, don't wait for the news to show up. You can tell your own story. Who's gonna tell it better than you?
Word.
You live here.
Word.
You know everybody. You know everything that's going down. You know who's bullshitting people. I show up, I don't know nobody.
Yeah.
So the one person who wants to talk to me, I put them on TV, and y'all all back at the crib like, yo, why they talk to this nut?
Motherfucker?
Right. They're like, why they talk to this nut?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
You right.
It's like,
You right. And that's been going on since I was a kid.
right, but he's the only one who was willing to talk to us.
Yep.
And so that's why I tell people, like, look, man, you don't gotta wait for me to show up to tell your story. You tell your own story, man, because you got all the gear now. You got a freaking camera in your pocket.
But the twist is, make some noise, send up a flare, because you still capable of bringing a machine there if they're already doing their thing.
Right.
If you have a situation,
Right.
you can add light.
Right.
You can't plant a seed, but you can add light.
Right.
Well, you can plant certain seeds certain ways, but I mean, like, they have to start.
They have to start. And
You know what I
that's,
mean?
it's
You could
so,
be the guy that shows the example, but at the same time, they have to start.
It's so important
Before you
right
can put
now.
light on
It's so important right now. People have gotten so used to major media outlets telling them what's going on in their community and in the world and so on and so forth.
I love Jim Jones as a weatherman.
Right?
I love Nori for my media. I'm into this shit. Now. I'm into this new cool shit.
The problem is there's some cats who like, we should be careful what we say, what we get from them, right?
But that's the thing. It's entertaining. I still look at my phone for the weather. I just listen to Jim talk about it.
Right.
It's funny.
Dig it.
No,
So,
but go ahead.
but I'm saying as though since these major media operations don't send people to your community to cover stuff that you think is important.
And don't send the right people a lot of times.
Right. You go do it. Take your cell phone, go in there and record that city council meeting. Take your cell phone, go in there and record the school board meeting. Take your cell phone, you know what I'm saying, and be engaged. And then this way, when something isn't right, now you could be like, yo, Mike, man, check this out, man. This is what they said, but this is what they did.
When the riots broke out a couple years back, I watched CNN and MSNBC and local news. I was flipping back and forth the channels all day because it was lit. Everywhere you look, somebody just set something else on fire. I went on social media, and this little girl from, I forget where she was from, but they had just lit like a Target on fire and like a Wendy's or something right in front of her. She was on live for like 14 hours,
Right.
bro. Her mom and them was sending people down there to go get her, and she was fighting them like,
Right.
I'm not leaving. People need to see this. They're
Right.
lying on the news. They was like, well, go to the bathroom. She like, all right, in a minute. Like this little girl showed me more of what was happening where she was at.
Well, right. But this is what I'm saying. Like, to say that they're lying on the news, that's not true. Right? The news doesn't lie.
They'll be held accountable.
Right. And people tend to be like, you know, the news is lying, the news is lying. The news is just telling you, right.
That's
like, right, it's fake news, whatever.
Yeah.
The news is telling you the information that they have.
Exactly.
Right? We and we get caught up with, like, people, you know, people have a problem with deciphering between pundits and journalists. Right? A pundit can get on TV and say whatever the hell they want, doesn't matter.
And you're responding to the young lady saying that they were lying.
Because, and I'm not saying, and it's not her.
It's a young lady.
But I'm saying that's a thing.
That's a thing. No,
to
people
think that the media, right,
are part of the political
right.
direction. And
it's not. This is not a shot against her saying it that they're lying.
Right.
It's that they
a
are.
response to
That's
the
just the whole idea of
Right.
thinking that the media lies. The media doesn't. Not. Let me rephrase that. Real journalists don't lie.
Because I was about to push back,
Right.
but we good.
Media will lie to you.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Journalists don't lie. But you have to be able to decipher who's a journalist and who's not.
Absolutely.
And that line has become blurred. So it's hard.
Agree.
It's hard for people to know who's a journalist and who's not a journalist. And it's blurred because there's value in blurring it.
Because if I have a following, then I'm valuable.
Right.
Even if I'm not knowledgeable.
Right. So if you get on TV and talk shit and drum up controversy and all that shit and it's making money, we promote you. Right? Even though it's detrimental to society. And you're not a journalist. You're just a shit talker. Yeah. Right? But people like it. Because it sells commercial time. Because it makes us money. So we promote
energy
it.
Sells.
And the problem is that we put them next to each other.
Exactly.
Right? So you can watch real journalists up to 7 o'clock, and then right after that on any, I don't care if it's Fox, MSNBC, CBS, CNN. Right after that, all of a sudden they go to the pundits.
Yeah, never take Jim Jones' word over the people on the real news.
Right.
That's basically what we came down to. Like, I told y'all, it's entertaining.
It's entertainment.
It's funny to see somebody that I seen as a gorilla at one point outside talking about, oh man, you know what I mean? That's fun. But I still need to know what I'm going outside to in real time.
Because even when what's that joint on Comedy Central that the South African dude just left?
Who?
Daily Show, right?
Oh, my man.
When the Daily Show first popped off, somebody did a study, and that generation got more of their information from the Daily Show and Comedy Central than they got from news. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, I heard about that.
And it's like, yo, I get it. Like Jon Stewart, he's good. And I believe in a lot of the
Jon
stuff
Stewart
that he
is
said.
Awesome, even though he's not always right. But.
Right. And a lot of the stuff he said was true and factual, but yo, like, journalists is different.
Absolutely.
Journalists do this shit because they want to get you the information. They want you to be aware. They want you to know, but they're not the ones making $500,000, $1 million, $30 million, $50 million deals.
No.
They're struggling.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Those cats who getting paid like $20 million a year, $30 million, those are pundits. Those ain't journalists.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No, that becomes political at that point.
Right. These cats, journalists is out here struggling, getting, you know what I mean? Like I told you, my first gig, I was making $6.50 an hour.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
and there's somebody out there doing my first job right now.
And the thing is, the whole problem is the line blurring. Because ultimately, we supposed to know that one is one and the other is the other. And we know that entertainment, actors get paid more than teachers. Right. Athletes get paid more than teachers. You know what I mean? Right. We know what the value is in this country. We know how the hierarchy is played out, whether we agree with it or not. But the reason that I like the people that I like that aren't professionals, that live in and maybe part of blurring the line is because they always tell you that they're not. They admit, like, no, I'm not. No.
And that's cool.
Come over here for drunk facts.
Right. That's cool. I'm good with that. But there's a lot of cats who blur that line, who don't tell you that.
No, because they think they are. You. They think they are.
No,
they think they can speak it into existence.
I think it's bullshit. I think they know they're not. But they know that the people who are listening to them don't know that they're not.
Or, okay.
Because if I tell you that I'm not, that means everything I'm telling you, you're gonna look at it as bullshit.
But what if I tell you that I am, and I convince enough of my following that I am, that TMZ gives me a segment?
If you tell me that you are a journalist?
If not me telling you,
but I'm saying in general,
but them telling the public, the populace.
Right.
If they, because people think that you could just, and it's happened.
Yes,
We've seen
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
It.
People believe their own lie
to where it gets to the point, where you have enough people following you that believe it, that the network acquiesces to it.
Right. That
but they say we need
I fault the network for that, right? Because the network has to know we are the professionals. It's up to us to vet that person. I don't care if you got 2 million followers.
But this goes back to them taking the hits and trying to make up for taking the hits, right?
Right.
When everything gets slimmer, you try to fluff it up.
Oh, no doubt.
And fluff is fluff for a reason.
But I'm not saying we can't fluff it up. But you got to be honest with the people.
I don't believe they should. I believe that they should identify their space clearer.
Oh, I agree with you. That's what I'm saying.
I believe you identify your space clearer. I don't believe that
honest
you
with the
blend.
people. Right. Don't blend.
Don't blend.
But what I'm saying is you got to be honest with the people, right? So if you bring somebody on just because they have a huge following, then you have to be honest with the people and tell them like, yo, this is not a news guy or a news woman. This is not a journalist. This is a pundit. They have a huge following. And so we have now. They're not going to say it in as many words, but what I'm saying is this is the narrative that has to be. But to define that would still be a lot to take on in that space, right? But that doesn't mean people
still going to be looked at.
This is entertainment, and that's okay,
right?
For you to tune in for the entertainment value. Like if you want to make jokes and get entertainment off of things that are really happening in the world, that's great. Comedians do it all day.
But be clear.
But be clear that this person, even though they're sitting here in a suit, and they look clean and we're lighting them well and they got great graphics and all that stuff that you get on a real news show.
Right.
This is not a real news show.
Exactly. I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
You know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not just television news. That shit don't make enough money to keep these networks alive.
At all.
You need all that other stuff to keep these networks alive, right? So but you have to be honest with the people. And I think for a while, we got away from being honest with the people.
Which your show, the 215 on Tuesdays, is one of those things that brings it back to where that's why they left you that
right. Because I approach it from a different lane, right? I approach it from the lane of someone who's been in the street covering what's been going on in the city of Philadelphia since 1998. I've worked the overnights. I've worked the 3 to 11. I've worked the early in the morning. I've worked every shift. I've met every kind of person. I've seen everything
from 98.
From
shit.
The grimiest of the grime to the flyest of the fly. I've seen everything. Maybe not everything, but I've seen a whole lot.
Quite an arc in this
that
city.
This city has to
You've
offer.
Seen quite an arc.
Right. I've had conversations with politicians. I've had conversations with rock stars.
Absolutely.
I've had conversations with Joe Schmo. I've had conversations with drug addicts. I've had conversations with criminals. I've had conversations with everything. I've met them all in some way, shape, or form. I've sat with.
It's unavoidable at that point.
Right.
Let's pivot though real quick.
Go.
Over a drink. Let's address the elephant in the room.
Okay.
No, you were before we started filming, you were giving me a little insight on what your original thought process was with doing Over a Drink. So give the people a little background.
All right, so Over a Drink, right? And it's funny that you said I stole your concept, right? Because I never thought about it that way, right?
You're the one that I know didn't steal it. But
okay, but whatever the case,
don't
right?
Do that to me on it.
All right, I didn't know SippinWitSammie was a thing when Over a Drink started. I didn't know,
and I know you didn't, and that's why I said
right. I didn't know Drink Champs was a thing.
I didn't either when I
started Over a Drink. Right. I started Over a Drink.
I'm telling you, it's the same story. Go ahead.
Right. I started Over a Drink probably 5 years ago now. Right. 6 years ago, whatever it was. It was at least 2 years before COVID, and we like 3 years into COVID. Right.
Same story.
So, and it was really a interview series. I didn't even know what to call it. Right? I didn't know if it was an interview series. I didn't watch podcasts. I didn't listen to podcasts. I didn't label it a podcast.
Yeah, my idea didn't come from a podcast.
It was just me sitting with other media members and talking about the work we do. That's what it started out as. Dope. And we're going to have this conversation.
That's a good premise.
Over a drink.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if you look at some of the early Over a Drink interviews, they're photographers, they're reporters, they're people who did what I did for a living, because we are different. We were like a niche breed of people.
So this the happy hour crew.
Right. No. This is not. You mean the happy hour crew that I do the Glockware joint with?
No, I'm talking about like if y'all was all at work, this would be the people that after work you would
right. These are the people you go get a drink with. Right. The happy hour crew. Or these, not even more bigger than that. These are the people who I worked scenes with. Okay, right. So it's not even a happy hour crew. These are the people who, you know what I mean? Lex Street Massacre standing next to me.
I was explaining Lex Street Massacre.
Right.
Crazy.
These are the people, you know what I mean? Now I wasn't out here, but last year when 9 or 12 kids died over in Fairmount in that fire, right?
Yeah.
These are the people who were standing there, right? These are the people who when Barack Obama was first running for office was showing up at all these press conferences. These are the people when the train crashed, you know what I mean? The Amtrak crashed down here, who was standing out there with me. Like, so pick a crisis.
These are great conversations. People that had conversations.
Right.
With.
So these are the people who were out there doing the same thing I was doing, and how these events affected them,
and that's
how they visualize these events, and how we are sent out in some of the worst conditions. When everybody's going in the opposite direction, we're going towards it, right? And how they dealt with these things, and how they were affected by it, and how we managed these situations. So that's what Overdrink was.
Premise. That's a
right?
Great premise.
So that's what Overdrink was. And then as it grew, then it just became people who I was interested in having conversations with. Right. Just like we're doing right now, right?
Absolutely.
It's like, oh shit, you're doing something dope, man. Come on, let's sit down, have a drink, and let's rap about it.
Absolutely.
And that's what Overdrink was. COVID hit, and I backed off of it, even though people, and I probably missed another missed opportunity, right? Because people were like, yo, Mike, man, everybody's available now. Yep. Why are you not doing Overdrink now?
Ain't nobody doing shit.
Because I didn't want to do Zoom interviews. Right? For me, Zoom interviews were corny.
I did a few. They're not the same.
Right. I want to be in a room with you.
I got some good shit out of some of them, but they're not the same.
For sure. But I want to be in the room with you. I want to feel your vibe. I want to feel your energy. I want to see your body language.
Same in the studio with me if we record, and I want to be there.
Right. And so I actually fell off of it. And they was like, yo, man, look at all these other things. Everybody doing these things. And then for me, it kind of got corny. Because now everybody's doing it. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't want to do this no more. Like, everybody's doing this. This is lame to me now, man. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
But then cats got iHeart deals. Cats got, you know what I'm saying?
All the way up.
So everybody, you know what I mean? Cats came all the way up.
My name is D Nice.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And people was like, yo, Mike, man, you really missed an opportunity, because what you were doing,
the energy would have
nobody was doing it, right? It would have
been magnified in that.
Right. Nobody was doing it until COVID hit.
Right.
You were ahead of the curve.
No bullshit.
And then COVID hit, and then everybody couldn't go anywhere. And then Zoom came around, so it was like, y'all just call people, see if they hop on the Zoom interview with me.
Yep.
You know, and for me, again, it was like YouTube for TV when YouTube came around. Zoom was the same thing for me. I was like, dude, that's corny. I'm not sitting in front of no friggin' camera phone and having a conversation with somebody. How lame is that shit? I'm not doing that.
One of the best happy hours I've ever been to in my life happened on Zoom during COVID. No bullshit. We was on there from like 6 to 2 in the morning. 20-something people. Motherfuckers tagging in and out. We was in there tripping. The girls had their hookah. The homies had what they had. And everybody was laughing and talking. Bro, I'm talking about went to bed and I was still on happy hour Zoom. Like, turning up, like,
and after a while, like, I got it, right? Zoom, because COVID lasted way longer.
It was
than we
the way at certain points. Like, what you gonna do?
Where you gonna
be
go?
A hermit?
Right. You gotta engage.
Talk to people.
Right. You gotta engage. But see, the difference for me was I was still in the street.
Yeah,
because I was still doing news.
Exactly.
So like Zoom didn't have any. Like I was still
engaging. Y'all get
people
for that
for a little while. Then they it was like, F that.
Niggas, 3
then it was
months.
like F that. Yeah, lasted for about a year. We got hazard pay, and they was like, all right, we gonna need that back.
Y'all seem to get too personal.
Y'all seem to be surviving out there. Y'all should be all right.
But you know, I know people that work for the streets department. I know nurses that have to get police escorts when it's snow blizzards. Like, I understand. So I'm just curious as how it applies to y'all.
Right, and I think what it was like, you know. So for me, it was like Zoom. I didn't need it. I was still engaging people.
Yeah,
I was still outside.
It's a little different for you.
Right. So I'm like, Zoom is corny.
So you didn't see it.
Right. Like, I was like, Zoom is corny. Like, why y'all on Zoom? Like, talk to people.
So then what?
So then it was kind of like, so I just stopped doing it, right? And then my peoples with Tiny Room was like, yo, we're going to do a happy hour, because we were working on the festival, the Tiny Room Arts and Music Festival.
Right.
And it didn't happen because of COVID. But it was like, yo, so we stay connected. Let's do this happy hour every Tuesday, and we'll just hop on, just rap with each other, just to make sure everybody's good, see what's going on with everybody, so on and so forth, right? Just as a check-in.
Just to engage
and
each
it was like, and since we're going to be doing it, let's invite a guest. You know what I'm saying? So then it was like, and we'll do Overdrink as part of that. right? And so I was like, all right, whatever, right? So I'm sitting at the crib and I would just create cocktails, you know what I mean? And like we'd have somebody come on. So let's say, for instance, like, you know, Sipping with Sammie gonna be on the show this week, and I'd go look at your Instagram and look at your social media and whatever.
And be like, he drinks cognac, so I'm gonna make him something with a cognac.
I'm gonna try to create a drink that's reflective of what I think your character is, right? And that's what I was doing, and then so it became that. And then when the Glockaware thing happened, it wasn't even intended in my mind to do it, right? I don't know what I was talking to Took about. Maybe I just interviewed him for the Jarek Report thing, and I said to him, I said, yo, man, maybe I will come over and do a show one day. Like the next week, Took was like, yo, how does 5 o'clock or how does 4 o'clock on Monday sound?
Like, I remember this time period, it literally happened that fast.
Right. It was like, how does 4 o'clock on Monday sound?
Because we was all there for the Jarek Report.
Right. And I was like, 4 o'clock? What the fuck is he talking about? I was like, what are you talking about? He said, yo, to come through and do a show. I was like, oh shit. Like, I was just bullshitting.
And you know what's funny? Speaking of when you did the Glockaware show, we're going to leave names out. But I remember a couple people was trying really hard that day to get a lot of attention, and you handled that very well. And you still made sure they felt included, but you did a very good job of identifying your space and letting people know you need, and you were a gentleman about it.
Look, man, I've been doing this a long time, man.
Because you know Glockaware gets hectic.
Yeah, and I've been doing TV a long time, man.
No, but I saw it.
And you know, I know. And this is, again, not a shot at anybody, man. Glockaware, great people come through there, man.
Absolutely.
Some beautiful, you know what I mean, great people everywhere, you know what I mean? And I know
people get excited,
what, and it's ill, right? Because part of it is, I think, social media has made people so camera hungry, right? People want to be on, like, they want to be seen.
They want to
never
be in front
of the camera. Right. And it wasn't just that shoot, man. There's so many times I'll show up to a shoot, and I made the plans to interview one person. I get there, they got 5 people here. I'm like, yo, who are these other 4 people? Oh, this guy does this, or this girl does this, and then, you know what I mean? We thought it'd be cool to have them engaged. And I just got to tell people straight up, like, look, man.
The segment is the segment. The piece
there's no need for me to talk to you because it'll never make TV. And I'm not saying that to hurt your feelings. I'm saying that because this is what I came over here to do. Now, if you got a great story,
let's do something.
Bet. Let's set up a date. I'll come through. I'll do a story on you too. I'm not saying you can't be on TV. I'm just saying this particular day was not intended for you.
No, you go with a plan.
Right. I came here with a plan.
Right.
And you got to understand that maximum this thing is going to get is 4 minutes.
Right.
And if you brought 5 people here,
that's 10 seconds per.
How the hell am I going to get all these people in 4 minutes, right? You actually cheating yourself.
Yep. Shot yourself in the foot.
Right.
But usually they do that out of insecurity. They don't want to talk. They want these other people to talk.
It could be that.
A lot of times that's what happens, yo.
You know.
Little
so yeah, so that's what happened with Over a Drink.
Over a Drink. So I explained Sipping with Sammie years ago. Before I knew podcasts was a thing. Not saying they weren't. I had no idea what was going on. One of the internet radio stations wasn't Glockaware, so I'm not going to shout them out. The owner hit me, and he hit me about a situation with somebody that was affiliated with the station. And we had a good talk, and then he said, bro, like, when you gonna come get a show? And I'm like, I could have a show? He's like, yeah, and we got the capabilities for you to do it remotely, which was kind of new for internet radio at the time. We talking about technology.
Right.
So I'm like, remotely? Because I'm still running around.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't never had to come up there. Like, I could just go to the bar with Mike. I could go to the man cave with Sean. I can go to the basketball court with this one and just...
Right.
And send it to y'all. We good? And they was like, yeah. I'm like, oh, Sipping with Sammie. I'm going to man caves, wherever y'all comfortable drinking. I'm picking up the tab. I'm gonna bring a couple folks with me so I know we good in there. And we was going to do, but it wasn't visual or nothing. It was audio. It was, you know. And then time went by and we never followed up on it. Shit happens. Still love him to death. You know what I mean? I don't think it was one. I think he was dealing with a lot at the station.
Yeah.
And then I started doing Glockaware. I got on there through Wave, who had started Flyboy Fridays at first, and I got on with him, and then like shortly after that I got on 98.5 FM radio, and I was doing both, and then I met Kay from Fine Productions, and she was doing our audio visual, and she told me like, well, I told her that I did, and I'm like, I think I could do it as a podcast now, because now podcast was a thing, and she was like, well, I got a lot of equipment. If we order a couple more pieces, we can start that shit immediately.
Boom.
So then it started. But the thing is like I run into the same thing you run into, where it's like I didn't even know Drink Champs was a thing before I had
no clue, dude.
But I salute Nori because
for sure.
What Nori does, and I don't think people realize, like, we having a drink the same way with you. It's not a pressure situation. Drink what you want or don't.
Yeah.
Drink at your pace.
Yeah.
I'm not forcing no shots, nothing. Nori has a rock star drinking podcast.
Oh, for sure.
Which means you have to be a rock star to drink the way that he drinks with them.
Right.
You have to be somebody that can drink a fifth a night.
And look, I've been a Nori fan, a Nori supporter
since
from early TONY, Invade NY, right? Like I'm from Queens.
Music make this thug calm down.
Right. I'm from Queens. Nori, I went to school around the corner from Left Rack City. Like Nori, like
I was about to ask you how close you was to Left Rack.
You know what I'm saying? I've been a Nori fan from early, right? So when I seen what he was doing with Drink Champs, I was like, holy shit.
Though.
What a pivot.
So perfect.
And his personality and his character. I'm like, this dude is so ill in this environment.
He's perfect.
Almost as ill as he is. Might be iller as a rapper. Like, might be iller in this environment than he is a rapper. But and there's not too many rappers who can make that pivot like he did.
Who interview was I watching? And they said every station that they took Nori. My man from Third Base. Search was on My Expert Opinion, and he was talking with Matt Hoffa, and he was talking about how every station he took Nori to on his promo run, they asked him, "Does he want to do this?"
Right
in front of the morning show.
Yo,
like, does he want their job?
Right. I seen Nori.
He said, no lie, everywhere they took him.
The dude, I've only ever seen Nori live one time, and he was at Gotham for Wendy Williams' birthday party.
I remember that.
Right, and I came down and I went through.
Damn.
And I went to see the Nori show, and it wasn't. I didn't go there for Wendy Williams. I went there because Nori was going to be performing, and I'm like, listen, I'm a Queens cat. This is a Queens cat here in Philly. I'm going to support.
Pulling up on my boy.
I'm pulling up. Right. That show, I was like, holy smoke! This dude's energy, this dude's vibe, this dude's.
You know he's about to put his own guacamole out, right?
Holy moly guacamole.
He told Patty, and she said it's done.
This is what I'm saying, right? And so
like, when charisma is a motherfucker.
Yes, his charisma is just
fucking awesome.
It's just contagious, right? Even at the end of the show, right? I'm standing outside Gotham, and they're walking out, and I don't think it was Nori, it's like one of his homies. And I was like, yo, man, way to represent Queens, man. And they was like, nah, man, we did that for Philly. This is for Philly. I said, nah, B, I'm from Corona.
Queens, right.
Like, I'm from Corona. Like, I went to IS 61. I'm like, I left Rack City around the corner. He's like, oh, shit, what up, homie? Yo, y'all cats is 100%. I love y'all energy. Love y'all energy. And that's really
and
what
so
it
for
is.
you to say what he doing now might be iller than that, it's crazy.
Yo, he's just, I mean, and from a TV
he's
guy.
Still in the space.
Right, and I'm a TV guy.
But he's doing him. He's not doing y'all.
That's the difference, right?
We need them conversations that motherfuckers is willing to have with people that understand them.
Right. The way he's delivering, right, and the way he's delivering the culture in a different way. Like, it's a grown up way of delivering the culture almost, right? Like, it's so less like, it's like, look, and look, man, I don't knock any of the new music, right? And any of the new vibe. Like, my parents didn't give a shit about and care for what we was doing in the 80s and in the early 90s. I could give a take on a lot of the new music right now, right? But that doesn't mean that I've outgrown hip hop.
Talk that shit.
Right? And Nori has grown up, and now he's speaking to that hip hop, the grown up hip hop culture with the shit that he's doing. Right.
Drink Champs is his 444.
For sure. And it's like,
and mind you, people that see him now don't realize niggas used to be scared of him.
Yes.
Scared of him.
Right. Right, because he was wild out.
Scared.
He was bugged out back then.
And it was 65 of them.
And
the Pocono.
They came heavy everywhere they went, right? But that's the thing, right? It's like, and I know we went way over time on this joint, right? But
we good.
But when you talk about how, you know, people people grow up, right?
Absolutely.
And vibes grow up and energies grow up, and just because you grew up don't mean you not still connected, right?
That part.
To what you into.
That part.
And Nori had found a way
to be that
voice. So you take like when we talking about pundits and shit like that, right? Nori's a fucking pundit.
Absolutely.
Right? But we don't have no hip hop pundits.
But exactly. It's like what LL is doing with the Rock the Bells network and with the Rock the Bells situation.
Right. So
like, that's necessary.
So you see all these other genres, right? And all these other groups of people. I mean, you could look at like a Bill Maher or a pick any pundit on Fox News Channel. Pick any pundit, Rachel Maddow on MSNBC. Like they have an audience, and I watch all of them. Yeah. But they are not me. They don't represent me. They don't represent my culture. They don't represent what I grew up on. I'm just a news and politics guy.
You lucky to agree with 65% of what one of them says.
Right.
You're lucky.
Right. And I know a lot of the stuff they're talking about because I follow news, I follow politics. I can listen to them and I can chuckle at it and so on and so forth. But Nori grew up like me. Nori grew up with me. Nori grew up in the same world that I grew up in. He's like, so the same way that he talks to people and the same questions that he asks are the questions I have.
Because these are the things that engage based on where we come from.
Right. So when he's talking to any pick an MC, he's talking to a rapper.
It don't even matter.
It's different than somebody who didn't know this person when they had one single out.
But you could watch damn near every interview because he's in them. Right. It don't matter who he's talking to.
Right. Oh, for sure.
You see what I'm saying? Like that's the thing too. Like that's the thing that it's like Wiz said on Tell All the Dice. He said these labels had $1 million, but they don't have the idea.
Right. We
have the thing. They had a way to blow it up. It's like the thing that they want, you can't get without authenticity. You have to invest in authenticity.
Is 100% authentic. And that's what makes him so good. That's what makes Drink Champ so great.
His biggest fraud on that show? He plays down.
Yes.
He acts like he's dumber than he is all the time.
Yes.
Outside of that, he's 100.
Right. For sure.
So he's humbling himself for
But he has to do it for he does it for the guests too.
And for comedic,
because he knows he's been around these people outside of this platform.
And artists are finicky,
right? So he knows.
My platform. They walking in my dungeon.
I gotta let them still be the star, even though I'm the star here. I gotta let them feel like they're the star.
That's where he stumbled with the Ye interview.
Exactly.
Because he overdid it.
Exactly. But I also with the Ye interview, I had this debate with my homie, and I was like, "Look, man, that was where you seen that Nori's not a journalist."
And he's human.
He's human, and he was like, friend. I was just letting him talk.
That was his friend.
A journalist would have challenged him on that shit.
Would you have challenged him to the point that he walk out?
Yes.
Because that was the balance.
Yes.
You know that was the whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't want him to leave.
Yeah. Of course.
And we see this in a lot of interviews with people. They literally let people do the thing because they want to keep the Yayo interview with Meth. Yeah, it happens.
And I'm like when I do my interviews and then my interviews, like I did I interviewed Cornbread. Right? And my man was like, yo, Mike, man, how you let him sit up there and talk about that graffiti started here in Philly, this, that, and the third? And I'm like, look, man, I don't have these conversations to challenge people.
Graffiti didn't even start in hip hop, by the way. Go ahead.
But I'm like, I don't have these conversations to challenge people. I have these conversations to have conversations. Like, I'm not here to debate what he believes unless I blatantly know that it's a lie.
One thing I try to explain to people when they start their platforms, because a lot of people come to me for advice, and one of the things that I say to them that I don't think they expect is, it's not your job to win.
Right.
On your platform.
Right.
If you always want to win on your platform, you will never get guests.
Nope.
Because nobody's pulling up to lose to you.
Right.
And then especially you motherfuckers that try to drown someone on your platform, or you let them have their way, and then you go on social media and you keep trying to win. You can't do that. That's not your place. You let the audience decide who they agree with.
And I only have conversations with people who I find interesting. So why the hell I'm gonna challenge him and try to fucking blow them up?
Before we get to the root of what I'm trying to figure out.
Right. And even if we get to the root of it, like, I'm not here to shit on you. I'm not here to fucking to jam you up. I'm here to be like, yo, man, or homegirl, like, yo, I think whatever you doing is super dope, man, and I want to have a fucking conversation about it. And that's it.
But
now, if somebody comes along and be like, yo, Mike, man, you know they was lying about such and such and so and so, 95% of the time, and I know this is probably shitty to say, man, I ain't done no more research that would have me interested in them.
And I'm not responsible for that.
Right.
I'm not responsible for that.
As far as when I'm doing the 215 and shit like that, I do my research, right? Because this is a different platform. I'm not going to give you anything. And even if we have a conversation about something that I'm not sure of, I just don't include it in a piece, right? Because I can't fact check it. I don't include it in a piece, right? But if you and me just sitting here rapping and you making claims, I'm like, look, man, if this dude believes he originated this shit, so what? You know what I mean? I don't give a shit.
Graffiti is just the wildest shit. And I'm going to explain to the people before we wrap this why. The first thing I said was graffiti didn't come from hip-hop. If you look on history, wherever there's been people that have been displaced, wherever there's been people that have had nothing, there has been some form of graffiti.
Right. And it's
graffiti not, as we know it is hip-hop.
And graffiti,
so for any person to be able to say they created graffiti is crazy.
Right. Graffiti is an element of hip-hop, right?
Right.
And anybody
it's not an invention of hip-hop.
Anybody who was writing on a wall was doing graffiti.
Look
right?
at war
and you
pictures
can go
throughout the
way
ages.
Back.
They sprayed on everything.
Right. And you can go back to hieroglyphics on a wall and call that graffiti if you want to, right? So it's like, so if he wants to take credit for what's considered modern day graffiti,
I'm not spending so much energy on it.
I don't give a shit. Like, look, even if he didn't invent it, even if he wasn't the first one to do it, he was one of the earliest in the game doing it the way you see it today.
Even with what I said being said, I wouldn't be so quick to challenge him as I would want to know more. Like, I would want to know what made, like, where did
that's my approach.
Like, I wouldn't want to just shut him down and be like, dude, nigga, no.
Like, dude.
I would be like, so when?
Like, why the fuck did you feel it necessary to write your name on every damn surface you seen? I don't give a shit who did it first. I'm more concerned with what is it in your character that made you want to write your name on every wall you walk by.
You know these dudes be like plumbers and electricians by the time they finish being graffiti artists?
Right.
They be having to crawl through tunnels, scale shit, turn shit off, stand on a bucket and hang off a ledge. These dudes be fucking, like, they go through hell to get some pieces up.
And you be surprised who you pass or work with or sit next to every day
shit at nighttime.
Who was a graffiti artist and might still be.
You ever seen him at Glockerware when what's the name bring him through?
Who's that?
What's my man name? Hood Art used to have him on his show. It used to be on Friday nights. And he used to, every once in a while, because he wanted them too. He used to invite all his homies through. And it'll be mad cameras on for video. It'll be a bunch of pictures taken. You see dudes from 25 to 70.
Right.
And they all find a way to hide their face from every fucking piece of footage the whole time. Bro, it's cameras going the whole time and they hitting the wall. They hitting somebody's book. They hitting you know how you see those like it's a locker in Glockerware that just has graffiti on it. Like they hit them joints, all type of shit. You never get to see their whole face. And then you know what they do when they leave Glockerware?
What's that?
They hit everything on the way home.
Yes, it's part of their.
It'd be 30 of them in there.
It's their culture, B. They can't get it out of their system.
They got the best stories though.
Listen, I've been doing so doing the 215, right? I've it's focused on arts, culture, vibe, shit like that, right? I've met a bunch of graffiti artists and being involved with my peoples over at Tiny Room, right? I've met a bunch of graffiti artists, right? And when you see these cats not working graffiti, you like
regular. They everything.
It's everything. Regular Joes, right?
If it's 20 people at the strip club at happy hour, they're all here.
Listen,
talk about the businessman, the teacher, the dirtball, the rapper.
Same thing. It's somebody sitting in your office right now
that might
might still go out at night Right. See what I'm saying? And right on somebody's wall. I know artists who do pieces that they get hired by corporate America to do $30,000-$40,000. They get paid to do a piece.
Nigga from Hood Art got a Marriott deal.
And then go outside, go down Graffiti Pier, go find some, and right on the wall.
That's how they get arrested internationally. They get flown out there to do a piece, and then they go do some regular shit.
Right.
And then they get caught.
Right.
And now you're not coming back to America.
Right. Right. And I'm like, and you know, in your rational mind, you like, yo, B.
You ever watch some Joes on YouTube? They be on like crazy places and hitting shit.
This is what I'm saying though. But you like in your rational mind, you like, yo, B.
You just painting on somebody else's shit.
You got commission to do a $40,000 piece. Why the hell you still going out here just hitting up walls for the fuck of it?
My Marriott folk.
It's in your culture. It's in your blood. It's nothing they can do about it, man. It's the same way we do what we do.
The Marriott deal is you do one piece, and they put it in a certain number of hotels, so they duplicate it.
Right.
You only gotta do it once.
Do it once,
but you get a commission.
And you all the way up. And you all the way up, but you still trying to find some place.
You hanging off of a fucking 30-story building,
trying to put your name up.
And how you gonna get out once they put the spotlight up? Like, it's vicious.
Listen, man, I just came back from...
Salute to y'all, man. Y'all go harder for y'all art than I do.
I just came back, and it's bugged out, right, that we transitioned this, because I just came back from Art Basel.
Yeah.
Down
you went to Basel
Miami.
this year?
Yeah. And
you saw the ATM?
I did not see the ATM.
Did you hear about it?
I did hear about it.
They got an ATM that displays your face and your bank account for everybody. And it's sold for like $750,000.
Right. Yeah, I heard about that. I'm like, yeah, I'm not playing with that game.
It had a whole lot of zeros on there too.
Yeah. Well, you know, a lot of us broke.
But a lot of people didn't know they was about to get blasted when they stuck their card in there.
Right. Oh, that too. Right. Right.
Yo, Art Basel a motherfucker. Yo,
you ever been?
No.
Yo, this is my first year.
I don't know if I've been like.
Let me tell you something.
I went to the what is called the when the models be in New York and shit. Fashion Week. I went to the Fashion Week in New York, and that was like a little too much for me. It was like, I'm not really like, can we go to Yonkers? I want to go back to the studio. Like, but Basel, I see them taping bananas to the wall and selling them for $50,000. I'm like, I'm not built for that.
Yo, but it's everything. It's everything, right? This is my first year, right?
I'm regular.
But there's regular.
I'm fly, but I'm regular.
And then there's super out of here irregular, right?
So there's a pocket.
Right, there's a pocket. And then there's the nightlife.
Right.
Right.
So I'm good at that part.
And you've been right at home.
I'm good at that part.
I didn't even realize, yo.
Can you stand on couches at Art Basel?
Can you stand on couches?
Yeah.
Well, I did a lot of stuff.
Standing on shit.
I did a lot of stuff outside.
Okay.
There was no couches. But I don't know. You might be able to stand on the couch.
I don't want them to be snooty when I get in my bag.
But let me rephrase. Let me put it like this. There's some place at Art Basel you can stand on the couch.
I can stand on the couch.
Right.
All right, then I'm good. That's what I said. The pockets. As long as it's a pocket, I find my pocket.
I've seen more Philadelphians out there.
That's why I hate going down there.
But it wasn't just that, dude. Here's the thing, though, right? It's the vibe of the people, right? It's not like
energy is different. It's not Memorial Day.
It's the energy's way different.
It's not Memorial Day.
It's not the rah, I'm tearing shit up. You know what I mean? Those cats, they not doing Art Basel because they thinking like you. Can I stand on couches? Can I floss? Can I front? Can I do?
I don't even like flosses.
It's not that.
But at the end of the night, I be feeling like the man when I walk through.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I get in that bag.
And that's okay. That's okay, because I get in that bag. Fuck, at the beginning of the night, I be feeling like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? I say all the time, when I walk in the room, I think I'm the flyest motherfucker in the room until somebody outfly me.
Play with me, don't play with me. Either play with me or don't play with me. You gotta pick a side.
You know what I'm saying? But let me tell you, man, you see everything from cats just getting up on walls to friggin', $500,000 pieces of artwork. You know what I mean? It's just everything. I had no clue. It's this event is 20 years old. And I went down there this year and was like, for the first time, I was like, how the fuck had I not been part of this?
You out there?
About 5 days I was
You
down
did 5?
Yeah, I went down there
you
Wednesday,
went for
came
the
back.
whole run.
Yeah, I came. Well, it's Miami Art Week, so Art Month, so it goes for a whole month.
Basel is
But
a month?
Basel, yeah. But this last weekend is kind of like when everybody's pieces are done.
Because everybody that I talked to that went to Basel went for 3 or 4 days. So I wasn't.
Yeah.
See, like, I'm not hit.
But like it's Art Month, so it's kind of like celebrating art in Miami for the whole month. But Basel is like the week, the last weekend. This weekend,
right.
It's like everybody's finishing up the pieces that they've done. Everybody's, you know what I mean. All people from I was rapping with cats from different countries, from all over the world, man, who was there. Whether they were showing off work, whether they were doing work, whether they looking for it's just a whole different, and it's the coolest vibe, man. And me and my homie was like, yo, man, like, you know, it sucks that our city has the fucking energy that it has, that you can't go someplace without somebody fucking getting shot. But
because we could have one of them,
dude.
Because our art is crazy.
We got our arts world in this city.
It's stupid.
And my people's at Tiny Room is trying to create that vibe here. That's what that Tiny Room for Elephants Festival is all about, right? It goes for 2 weeks where you can go down there, watch artists create work, and then the last weekend it's a show to show off all the work that they created.
Right.
That's what this was at Basel. This was the last weekend when it was all the pieces was done.
Dope.
And everybody was showing off the work that they created. But the vibe in the city, man, and the people was chilling. Everybody was happy.
Right.
Everybody was
I'm about
energized.
to buy my ticket.
She's like, look, man, we 2 hours in. Can we shut this shit down?
I'm about to buy my ticket for the next Art Basel.
Gotta be there,
Go
man.
there.
Like, I almost don't want to tell people about it.
Oh, I'll be
Even
out there.
better.
I'll be out there next year.
Even better.
just
When you
got
can go
word.
on somebody else's dime,
Yeah, I just
because
got
Miami ain't cheap.
Because I was about to tell you that there's connection, but we'll get into that after we done filming. No, Art. The one thing that I wanted to say real quick is the thing that makes me more interested in things like that is the people from our culture. When you ask them, damn, if I want to get interested in art, how do I start? What kind of pieces should I look for? They always say find things that speak to you.
Right.
And I think that that's what art is supposed to be.
Yes.
I think that value, appreciation, whatever comes from it is an afterthought.
For sure.
You get what you invest in, what you appreciate, and you support that artist.
That's right.
First.
That's
You're
right.
not supposed to buy art for what you can get from it.
Nah.
You're
You
supposed
buy
to buy
what
it for
you
what
like.
you got from it when you saw it.
When you saw it.
So I think that's what makes me more comfortable with liking, because I've been expanding my palette. I've been in some different rooms and seen some things, and it's like that makes me more comfortable. I think a lot of people are intimidated because art has been something that is made by poor people, and that you're supposed to only invest in if you can buy a house off of it.
And that's crazy.
That's not real.
That's crazy because it's not real. You know what I mean? You just gotta you buy or you support or you enjoy what you enjoy, man. You know what I'm saying? Your homie makes an ill piece. Support your homie. Buy his piece. You know what I'm saying? Throw it up on your wall. You know what I'm saying? Like
God willing, something.
It may grow, it may not, but it doesn't matter. If it gives you pleasure,
and if it's original and it's 101,
rock out.
How do you lose?
You don't lose, man, and that's what it is, man. And it's just, it's just a great vibe, man.
I did not think that I was going to have you on here and we was going to start talking about art, but
talk about listen, man. You know what I mean? That's really who we are, though, right?
Absolutely.
Everything we do, like what you do is an art, right? Everything we do, and you know what I mean. And again, back to the show, the 215. I tell people all the time, like. People like, oh, I thought it had to be, just like visual artists or something like this. They're like, no, man. How you walk down the street is an art. You know what I'm saying? How you go to the grocery store is an art. Like art is just how we live, man. And if you do something that's dope, man,
then let's bring light.
Let's talk about it, man. And that's really what it is. That's how I look at the world, man. That's how I approach the world, man. It's like we all artists in our soul. It's just a matter of how we recognize it, man, and how we give it to the world, man.
Well, that's why you gonna win, because you're absolutely correct. You know what I'm saying? And I don't hesitate to say that. I look at shit the same way, and even when I didn't, it was proven to me. Right. You know how they say, with entertainment and music, it was the thing that I've always walked away from, and it pulled me back in.
Right.
And then I realized, oh shit, I'm here for a reason.
Right.
Like, but it takes something to make something, and you got to go through the process. And I appreciate you sharing your process with me. You know what I'm saying to my people. Tell the people how to fucking keep up with you.
You can find me, Mike Greenidge, on all the social medias.
Spell Greenidge. Come on, they've been
GREENIDGE at Mike Greenidge. MikeGreenidge. It's the same everywhere.
My
Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'm only active on Instagram though, so if you're looking for me, that's the best place to find me. You know what I mean? I have all the other ones, man, but you know,
that part.
You're gonna be like, damn, this dude's is lame.
Oh man, check out over a drink
over at Glockaware, man. Check out the 215 every Tuesday at 6:30 on Fox29. We do it for the people, man. I say it all the time, and I leave it with that, man. Everything I do for the people, man. My platforms are the people's platforms, man.
That part.
If you got something dope, you got something ill, you got an ill homie that you think needs to be celebrated, holla at me.
That part. And he ain't lying to y'all, man.
Just make sure they ready. That's the only thing I ask.
Y'all heard what he talking about. Big business, big things, man. Real productions. We ain't playing no games out here in these streets. We trying to progress. We trying to build. And that's what it's about, man. Sipping with Sammie, Sam Malone, Barstool, Rug. If you ain't sipping with Sammie, you're having a drink or conversation over a drink.
Yo, before we check out, man, can I talk about your theme song, man?
Talk to me.
You could be here, but you could be anywhere in the world, but you here with me.
Mm-hmm.
That's Sipping with Sammie joint.
We gonna end with it.
Come on and roll with Sammie. I love that shit, man.
You fuck with that?
Oh,
it's
man.
Called Ruger. It's out now. Sam Malone Ruger.
I love that joint, B.
I appreciate that, man. It's a vibe. Shout out to Ace the Chemist, man.
That's what about, yo. Every now and again, too, can play that shit before we come on. I'm like, I love this fucking song, man.
It's a vibe, man. People don't have fun no more. I had fun.
Yo.
I walked in the studio.
And this is before I knew you, right? Before I met you. You played that shit. I was like, yo, what the fuck is this?
I walked in.
Come on the road and say, I love this shit.
I walked in, I sat down, I poured a drink, I cracked the beer, I started rolling the L, and Ace started making that beat. And I was like, oh, this is where you at? And then I thought about it like, oh, he fucking with me. He don't know that I can, like, do anything.
Yeah.
And we had fun.
Dude, I love that joint.
We had fun. Man. Appreciate you, bro.
For a long time, that was our intro, too.
I appreciate it.
I'm like, yo.
It became a Glockaware anthem.
Right, like, yo, that Sammie shit is
Shout out to all of y'all. It became an intro for like 6-7 shows at one point. That's not me, that's y'all.
Overdrink about to go on and shit because the Sippin' with Sammie joint is playing.
That part, man. No, man. Appreciate you, man.
No doubt. Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for having me, man.
Yep.
sound.